Viridian, The Green Guide, by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. Read by Oakshadow 5. Chapter 105. Explosion. Summary. Fireworks and aftermath. Don't mind the bees. I took down the queen and took control of them. Katsuki rolled his eyes and shoved his phone back in his pocket. Izuku's texts were getting weirder, but he couldn't help feeling proud of the nerd. He hadn't heard Eraser announcing any of the in-between games, so either he was asleep, or Izuku was finally learning that he could ask the heroes for help and they would actually listen. The games were almost over, and Katsuki felt a small smile pull at his lips as Uraraka made her way toward him. Even though it had been a prank, most of the girls were still wearing their cheer outfits, and Uraraka's fit her perfectly, emphasizing her curves while being long and full enough that she could probably fight on it if she needed to. Not that she would need to. She could always just ditch the skirt and go with the matching shorts Yaruzu had made for her to wear underneath. He didn't let himself stare long, but Uraraka's naturally pink cheeks seemed a little darker than normal, so he'd probably been caught. He had no idea what to do about that though, so he just ignored her in favor of chugging his water. Uraraka shook her head and nudged his arm. "Have you seen the matchups yet?" "Yeah." Katsuki glanced up. "I guess they're pitting us against each other, huh?" Uraraka grinned. "I guess so. Think you can win, Katcha?" Katsuki shrugged. "Don't need to. Still, don't expect me to go easy on your cheeks." "If you do, I'll get Aoyama to glitter bomb your backpack," Uraraka threatened. "Don't you dare hold back." "That'd be fucking insult." Katsuki rolled his eyes. "And stupid. If I don't go hard, how will all those recruiters see what you're really made of? I think I'd be pretty shitty support if I didn't help you show off." Uraraka rolled her eyes. "You can win, you know. We both know you're stronger than me, and I know you've got this whole standing in my shadow strategy, but I won't be mad if you decide you want to go on and try for first place." "Nah, you can take the spotlight, cheeks." Katsuki took another swig of his water. "Just don't make me look like an idiot, alright?" "Alright." Uraraka bit her lip. "And you can call me Ochaku, you know. We've been fighting pretty well together, so I'd say we probably qualify as friends now, don't you?" Katsuki blinked. He hadn't really realized that, but yeah, they probably were friends at this point, which meant that he had somehow gotten a lot better at choosing his company since middle school. Those idiot extras couldn't even hold a candle to badass fighters like Shinzo and Uraraka. Katsuki shook his head and gave her a teasing look. "Whatever you say, cheeks." Ochaku punched his arm. "Alright, Karchon, have it your way." Katsuki grinned and went to take another drink, freezing when a loud buzzing started echoing around the stadium. Ochaku glanced at him, then glanced up, and Katsuki spilled half the water bottle on his hand as he crumbled the cheap plastic. "Oh, fuck." Ochaku looked at him. "You don't like bees, right? Something about—" "Not knowing who they're reporting to." Katsuki forced himself to take a deep breath, but didn't take his eyes off the swarm as it slowly blocked out the sun. "I think I know this time, though. I just hope Izuku actually knows what he's doing." "Izuku—" Ochaku frowned. "Is that who you were talking to earlier?" "Yeah." Katsuki nodded, hovering a hand against the small of Ochaku's back so that he could push her down and protect her if he needed to. "If these bastards attack, I want you to run, okay, cheeks?" Ochaku shot him a quick glare. "Not a chance, Kachan. If they attack, I'm fighting. There are civilians in those stands." "Cheeks?" Katsuki growled a warning, but was cut off by President Mike's cheerful voice echoing through the stadium. "Isn't that a breathtaking sight, folks?" Mike yelled. "That's our support course for you, always going plus ultra like this. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this drone-powered fireworks show before the third round begins." The bees began exploding, and Katsuki found himself grinning sharply. That bastard actually did it. Damn nerd. Ochaku looked at him in confusion. "Did what?" Katsuki grinned at her. "Took down the villain and saved the day. Don't worry about it too much, cheeks. Just enjoy the show." Ochaku huffed, but looked up, taking a step back to get a better look as every single bee was wiped out in a colorful explosion. Katsuki didn't realize he'd never moved his hand until it was all of a sudden resting on her hip, but she hadn't said anything and calling attention to it now would just make everything more awkward, so he took the coward's way out and just left it there, smiling slightly as they watched the show. He'd really have to thank Izuku after this. All for One ground his teeth together as he listened to the illegit fireworks display that had taken the entire sports festival by surprise. The crowds were cheering and enjoying themselves, all infuriatingly unaware of the months and years of preparations that had just been quite literally blown to smithereens by a meddlesome kazoo player. The vigilante had even had the audacity to fill some of the beasts with colored powers and chemicals from the support student supplies so that they actually looked like real fireworks. It was as if he thought burning an entire movement of over one symphony was something worth celebrating, instead of a death sentence. Queen Bee had outlived her usefulness, that much was clear. Her entire hive was gone and would take too long to regenerate, even if she hadn't gotten herself captured by the heroes, and this was far from her first mistake, so she would have to be eliminated as soon as possible. Additional chaos would be advantageous as well, but there was one thing Overman was certain of. Viridian had interrupted his symphony for the last time. Overman grabbed the microphone that allowed him to speak through the television at the hideout.
Kurogiri, get Shigaraki. I have a mission for you.
Izuku kept an eye on his laptop and waited until the only signal he could detect was Queen Bee herself, before closing down the program and quietly snapping it shut. Eraserhead was helping Denki take care of Hagakure, who was obviously pretty disoriented after being possessed by a villain for so long, and it was sweet watching the two of them comfort her. They were both such amazing heroes. He stood slowly, careful not to make any sound as he grabbed his bag and inched toward the door. Nezu raised an eyebrow, but made no move to stop him. He managed to make it almost to the door before Eraserhead's capture weapon wrapped around his wrist.
And just what do you think you're doing, problem child?
Izuku gave him a sheepish smile. Escaping? Eraser gave him a look before wrapping the capture weapon all the way around Izuku with a flick of his wrist.
Nice try, kid, but you should have thought about that before sneaking into UA.
I didn't sneak in, Izuku muttered. You left the door unlocked for me. Eraser smirked.
Same difference. You willingly surrounded yourself with heroes, and this is the only logical outcome. Deal with that.
In my defense, he tried, I wasn't exactly thinking that far ahead. Izuku struggled against the bindings, panicking slightly when the scuff got tighter instead of looser, and he realized that this might actually be it. He tried to wiggle and grab any of his weapons, but both his arms were pinned to his sides, so even if he managed to grab any of them, he wasn't at a good angle to use anything besides his knife, which Eraser would probably be looking for. This wasn't good. Eraser was gonna find out he was quirkless, and then he was gonna tell everybody, and Viri. Denki's voice was just enough to cut through his panic. Breathe with me, okay? You're gonna be fine. No, I'm not. Izuku's face turned hot as his voice cracked. He didn't want Eraserhead to see him like this, not that he hadn't before, but it was just one more evidence that he was weak and useless, just like he'd always been. Things, they don't know. Denki looked confused for a moment before he realized what Izuku was talking about, and his eyes got wide. They don't know? Izuku shook his head, tears threatening to fall. No. Denki blinked a few times. Oh. He glanced toward Eraser and Nezu. Well, Aizu was probably not gonna care that much. Izuku shook his head emphatically. You don't know that? Denki's face fell. No, I don't. I'm sorry.
What's going on?
Eraser glanced suspiciously between the two of them.
What exactly don't I know?
Izuku stared at the floor while Denki opened and closed his mouth a few times. Nothing. Well, I mean, obviously you don't know a lot of things. It's just this one thing in particular. But, well, actually, technically it is nothing. But, you know what? Never mind. It's not a big deal. Eraserhead, unsurprisingly, looked unconvinced.
Viridian.
Izuku kept staring at the floor. Just let me go, Eraserhead. I can't be a hero. Eraserhead sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose.
Kid, no matter how many times you say that, it doesn't make it true. Just, you know what? No. You're joining the hero course whether you want to or not. Come on, problem child. Let's go meet your new classmates.
Izuku stumbled slightly as Eraserhead tugged on the scarf as if he was a leash kid. You're not taking me to the police?
Not at the moment.
Eraserhead raised an eyebrow.
We'll get to the paperwork after the festival, but Kaminari needs to get back so he can actually fight in the third round, and in the meantime, hopefully Kachan and the others will be able to talk some logic into that self-deprecating skull of yours. Izuku pouted and turned to Denki, who looked like he was torn between freeing Izuku and trying not to laugh. Traitor. Denki's face fell and he glanced toward Eraser. Do you want me to... No, Izuku said quickly, blinking to keep a tear from falling. I don't want to get you in trouble, and having an alleged vigilante would definitely... Eraser rubbed his eyes. You're a bit more than just an alleged vigilante, Viridian.
Not really. Izuku answered evasively. Who knew? Maybe Kachan and Denki were right, and it really wouldn't be that bad. But everything in him was screaming to enjoy Erasa's company while he still had it. He would still have Denki and Kachan, and maybe even Sue, since she already knew, and she didn't seem to hate him yet. He didn't know if he could handle being alone again. Kaminari, where have you been? The third round is about to start. A student ran down the hall at them and stopped short when he saw them. Is that Viridian? Erasa glared at him.
Ida, aren't you always telling the other students not to run in the halls?
Ida bowed deeply. My deepest apologies, but no one could find Kaminari, and we did not want him to miss the matches. It is a pleasure to meet you, Viridian. My brother speaks very highly of you.
See, kid.
Erasa had a pleased look on his face.
I'm not the only one who thinks you'd make a great hero. Ingenium thinks so too.
Izuku smiled sadly and turned to Ida. You're Ingenium's little brother? That's really cool. He must be really proud of you for making it so far in the festival. Well, I'm not sure, Ida answered. I haven't been able to get a hold of him, so he must be on a mission at the moment, but I'm planning on talking to him after the festival. Izuku got a glint in his eye, and Erasa glared at him.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, come on, Erasa, Izuku grinned. Just a few minutes so I can hack his comms and say hello.
And, of course, the fact that I'll have to untie you so you can use your laptop has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Erasa drawled.
Nice try.
Aw, I'm sure Viri won't run away, right? Denki gave him an exaggerated wink. And, I'm sure the guy will get a kick out of it. Ingenium, wasn't it? Oh, my brother will love it, Ida smiled fondly. More so if you manage to surprise him. You know that, Aizawa, you're friends. It's like classmate bonding, Izuku added. You want me to have a good relationship with the students, don't you, Erasa? Erasa narrowed his eyes suspiciously.
You're ganging up on me.
I mean, yeah, kinda, Denki smiled innocently. But you'll be here the whole time, and I'm sure Viri will let you keep a hold of him or something. He just needs his arm free to annoy Ingenium. Erasa sighed in defeat.
And if I let you do this, you'll treat it as a chance to bond with your future classmate, not as a chance to escape?
Sure, Izuku answered a little too quickly. Definitely. Erasa just rolled his eyes, but Izuku felt the capture weapon loosen slightly, only to tighten again immediately, leaving him still completely wrapped from his elbows up. Seriously, Erasa? You couldn't give me a little more wiggle room?
Nope.
Erasa deadpanned.
You can still type like that.
Izuku stuck his tongue out and dropped awkwardly to the floor while Denki laughed. Fine, I'll just have to make this work. Shigaraki scratched at a snake as Kurogiri opened the portal. So, Queen Bee's finally outlived her usefulness, huh? That does appear to be the case, Kurogiri nodded. Remember, she and the Vigilante are our main targets. Everyone else is secondary. Yeah, but Sensei still wants us to cause as much panic and chaos as possible, which means I might unlock a second fight with a Kachan brat. Shigaraki grinned and placed a hand over his face. I'm glad Sensei unlocked this level. It's gonna be a blast. Oh my gosh, so much happened this chapter. Viridian getting captured by Eraserhead, and Denki almost slipping up with Izuku's name, like he said E and then Viri, as if he tried to say Izuku. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 105 of Viridian the Green Guide, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!